Ever since Formula One dropped the refueling strategy back in 2009, critics have spoken out about an overall lack of excitement in the sport. It looked as if Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes were a combination that just couldn't be beaten after all, with other drivers merely falling in behind them. But then 2021 came around and ended up being a season full of twists and turns that still has Lewis and Max locked in an intense battle for the championship title. So what news should a Formula One fan be up to date with when it comes to this exciting race season, and what do the rest of the world think about the stories we're about to discuss? Well, whether you're waiting in anticipation for the Hungarian Grand Prix in August or just want to know more about the world of Formula One, you've come to the right place, as we're about to explore everything a fan of the sport should know right now. So strap yourselves in and get ready for a bumpy ride as things are about to get exciting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with the notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. 1. Talk of George Russell's future in F1. For those of you who don't know, George Russell is a British Formula One driver who is currently signed to the Williams team. But since his contract is on the brink of expiration, rumors have been spreading regarding where he is going to end up next year. He does appear to be far too good to stay on at Williams, after all, who don't appear to have any answer to the speed and acceleration that teams such as Mercedes and Red Bull have been able to spit out on the track. And since Russell had joined Mercedes in early 2017 as a part of their junior driver program, many fans had hoped that he would be the next man in line to replace Valtteri Bottas, whose contract is also looking to expire this year. This rumor was obviously backed up by the fact that Russell still acts as the test driver of the Mercedes from time to time, and even once replaced Hamilton at the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix. In fact, this is most likely what George Russell is best known for. Unless you're an absolute fanatic, you wouldn't know that Russell was such an incredible driver. As we mentioned earlier, the Williams just doesn't have the speed and acceleration to show off his skills. But when it comes to the Sakir Grand Prix last year, the young 23-year-old driver impressed by qualifying in second place ahead of teammate Valtteri Bottas. He then went on to lead the race with an impressive driving style and ability. Unfortunately for him though, his dream of winning a Formula One race was taken away from him with a mistake made by Mercedes. In an error of note, they replaced his old front tires with Valtteri's used pair, which caused him to contract a slow puncture. This took Russell out of the running, and if it wasn't for the terrible decision making at Mercedes, there's no doubt that he would have won the race. Some even put forward the theory that Mercedes had done this on purpose, as they couldn't have a Williams driver taking points away from Valtteri and showing up Hamilton in just one race. That being said, there appears to be no evidence to suggest the tire switch was done on purpose to sabotage the race of Russell. Keeping this in mind, Mercedes added fuel to the fire by announcing that they would decide between Valtteri Bottas and George Russell at some point over the summer, showing that Russell is truly in the running of securing himself a seat at Mercedes. And we suppose this is no surprise, considering the current performance of Bottas, which is honestly lackluster considering just how strong the Mercedes is when it comes to race day. Knowing full well that the chance is still alive, eager fans looked forward to the Silverstone Grand Prix in England, which is obviously the home country of Russell. According to them, an announcement was most definitely going to be made, naming him as the newest driver of Mercedes starting next season. Russell has, however, put these rumors on ice by stating that no news will arrive about his future in Formula One come Silverstone. He has also denied the rumor that he has already signed with Mercedes to take on the position of second driver come 2022. As we mentioned earlier though, this rumor is still very much alive, even though Silverstone has come and gone. While talking on the latest episode of the F1 Nation podcast, Russell was asked straight up whether he had already signed with Mercedes. He responded by stating candidly that he has always been with Mercedes, but that nothing is final just yet. In his own words, "I signed with Mercedes 5 or 6 years ago now. That is 100% true. As everybody knows, they look after me. But with regards to my drive for next year, nothing has been signed or sealed, and nothing will be announced in Silverstone, so I can let you know that." That being said, Russell has also spoken up about how proud he is to drive for Williams at the moment. He has spoken at length about how much the team has improved since he got there, which can be seen by how close he has come to scoring points for the team. Russell has also mentioned that the future of the Williams team is beyond exciting considering what the new ownership of the team has brought to the table, and with the overhauled regulations of 2022 already being considered to be in favor of the team, things are most certainly looking up for Williams. In other words, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Russell wasn't given the opportunity to drive for Mercedes next year, even though he definitely deserves it. Racing fanatics have also looked at what Mercedes have asked of Valtteri over the last few years and concluded that George Russell would not be a great fit for the team. There's no doubt that Lewis Hamilton will still be the team favorite after all, with Bottas being asked on a few occasions to move over to allow the teammate to pass. George Russell is far from a secondary driver though. He's a winner, and we doubt Mercedes would want someone who might jeopardize the race wins of their golden boy. That being said, we truly do hope he gets the chance. Someone needs to take the championship away from the sulky Brit if it isn't Max Verstappen this this year. 2. The controversial crash. And on the topic of the championship bout between current leader Max Verstappen and former champion Lewis Hamilton, we have some more Silverstone news. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to this high-intensity battle, things were brought even closer when Hamilton ended up winning the British Grand Prix in a rather controversial manner. With Max Verstappen leading the race, Lewis Hamilton came in hot on one of the high-speed corners of the track. This led him to drift outward while trying to overtake Max on the inside. Just like that, the cars connected, with Max having nowhere to go but off the track. The accident that resulted from this was said to be 51 Gs in total, so it's no surprise that after Max climbed out of the car, he was taken directly to the hospital where he was examined. Luckily for him, there was no lasting damage, but it did take a toll on his driver standings since his retirement from the race meant that he was unable to get any points. This situation was made even worse after the stewards decided to give Hamilton just a 10-second penalty for the incident that took Max out of the race. Considering that this was a lesser penalty than many drivers have been given for misusing an apex, the Formula One fan base was in upheaval. After serving the little penalty, Lewis went on to win the race, celebrating the win in his home country in a manner many termed disrespectful considering how Verstappen was at the time still being checked out in the nearest hospital. The crash has divided a great many fans who have noticed how often the former world champion appears to get away with behavior on the track. Some have even pointed in the direction of Charlie Whiting, the British motorsports director who always appears to have things sit perfectly for Lewis. A great example of this took place a few weeks ago, where Lewis was going off the track to gain a significant advantage on race day. Verstappen then chimed in on the team radio that he would be doing the same thing, considering how Lewis had been abusing the rule for more than half of the race. But as soon as Verstappen misused the track, spacing all drivers were giving a warning to not race in that way. And while Verstappen stopped, Hamilton had already gained a significant amount of time, being left to his own devices by the stewards. Very strange, if we do say so ourselves. Anyway, Hamilton swears that he had no idea that Verstappen was in the hospital while he was celebrating the win like an unruly English fan during the Hero final. Verstappen was having none of this though, tweeting the following just after being given the all clear by hospital staff. "Glad I'm okay. Very disappointed with being taken out like this. The penalty given does not help us and doesn't do justice to the dangerous move Lewis made on track. Watching the celebrations while still in hospital is disrespectful and unsportsmanlike behavior, but we move on." Hamilton has, however, refused to apologize for the strategic understeer that he experienced that day, forcing Verstappen to go spinning out of control. He responded that this accident was a reminder of how dangerous the sport can be, but then added that he will always race hard and fair, regardless of what others say online. But after watching this incident, what do you think about the blame that has been put on Hamilton? Justified or without reason? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below.